Mike Mitchell, Executive Director of No One Left Behind. The people that created it were a veteran and an interpreter. They both came together. The interpreter was trapped in Afghanistan, and thanks to the founder and the people that followed, they came together and they founded No One Left Behind because they felt like it was wrong that Afghans and Iraqis were being left behind, and they made a decision to come together and make a difference.
So why was it important to you to get involved in this?
You know, that's interesting you asked that. I actually grew up in Afghanistan and was born in the region and spent the first 7 years of my life there. And there are two reasons why I came to the organization. Number one, that family history is certainly within me and a connection to the Afghan people. But secondly, because America needs to hold true to its ideals. And going back to the Revolutionary War, there were other nationals that fought with us and for our ideals. It's important that in Afghanistan that we keep our promise to the people who didn't just sit behind us, but who stood behind us and saved American lives. And we owe them our gratitude and our promise, and that promise is real today.
My name is Ahmed Shafi Hadi, and I am one of the ambassadors for the organization No One Left Behind, operating in Virginia, Maryland, DC area. I was an interpreter with the United States Armed Forces in Afghanistan, and I got hired in 2003. I served as a linguist primarily for the embedded training teams who they were helping and supporting the Afghan National Army and police to be trained and equipped. And I did that job for over 10 years, and I came to the United States in 2009. And stayed in here for a couple of months, and then I was named requested to go back and serve as a linguist by Marine Corps in Afghanistan, and I deployed back in April of 2010, and I served again for another 2.5 years, and I came back home in 2012.
What are some of the challenges of being an interpreter?
Well, as always, interpreters were and they are eyes and ears of our military forces. So one of our commanders, who was a Marine colonel, he always said that you need to stay behind me. If I lose you, that means I cannot listen, I cannot hear, I cannot see nothing. So the main target for the Taliban and the enemy were to target mainly three people. The medic of the team, the commander, and of course the interpreter. If one of these three were down, of course the team was down. So, and that shows that how highly and important the job is for the linguists to be part of the team.
Right now, there are thousands of Afghans that worked with U.S. troops and contractors that are still there. In fact, the number is around 80,000. Those folks are facing the Taliban, who is searching them, hunting them, and sending many into hiding. Aside from that, there is starvation and a famine going on. So all of these things compel us to do something about the people that are still there. You know, when you look behind me, you can see the Vietnam War Memorial. And in 1975, the United States made a commitment to the Vietnamese. And that commitment led to Vietnamese coming to the United States and becoming Americans. They're Olympic athletes, they are entrepreneurs, they are members of Congress, and they are even in our military. And now we owe the same thing to the Afghans who served with us, who are still there, and whom we at No One Left Behind are trying to bring back to the United States. We are working with the Department of State, and we are working with donors around the United States. And those donors are giving money, and it's helping us support Afghans in getting visas and getting a processing to the United States. And it's also helping us pay for travel. Once they come to the United States, with the help of the Department of State, what we do is we help provide assistance for those during their pathway to integration into the United States as well.
How did you get involved with No One Left Behind?
During the evacuation process in 2021, one of my boss was a Marine Colonel. He was the director, one of the directors of No One Left Behind. He reached out to me to help hire some Afghans who they live in Maryland, DC, Virginia area, to help process some of those evacuees who they came into the United States. So I was able to help hire over 150 Afghans who they were part of the process to do the processing for those evacuees that they came into the United States to process their cases. And then later on, after I found out the goal of No One Left Behind and figured out that they were an amazing job, and I asked to be part of this great team, and that's how I entered into No One Left Behind group. Well, helping people always feels great, and there's a quote that we say that if you want to have anything in life, try to help others to get what they want, and you'll get what you want. So it's the same process, and I think the No One Left Behind organization overall are helping daily, weekly, non-stop. Those immigrants who they are here, and if they're not even the people who they are not reach out to the United States yet, we are working very hard to get those people as many support as possible, or as much support as possible, to get them to either evacuate or resettle in the United States.
Each individual story is a compelling narrative which moves me to get up every morning earlier than the morning before to do this work. And it means also that I can work harder to work with the colleagues and the volunteers and the donors to make sure that it isn't just one story, but many stories every day that enable me to do this work on a day-to-day basis. Just last week, I had the opportunity to speak to one interpreter. He had been in hiding for about 12 months. He didn't make it out of Karzai Airport during the evacuation in August of 21. And with the help of No One Left Behind, and with the help of his with the help of his major, who was his commander in Afghanistan, we were able to get him out, and he landed in the United States in January in safety. There are other stories as well that are equally compelling, and that we are eager to get the word out and share with not just some Americans watching this, but all Americans who are the neighbors of those watching.
I'm always thinking about those SIVs who they came to the United States, because it's really hard to come into a new culture, into a new country, and you leave behind whatever you already been trained and coached and lived actually, and you come in totally in a new society. That takes a lot, and I've been in contact with so many of them, try to mentor them, try to lead them the path for winning in United States, what area they can do better to win and establish a better life, or American dream life that we say. And I explained my own story, that how I have established my life and how my brother established his life in here, and that's the way that we encourage them to move on to be a better citizen.
So you've been here a little bit now. How is living the American life?
Well, great. It cannot be better than this. Every morning you get up, you dress up, you go to work, you feel no threat. And that's the biggest affluence of God that you can have. That you don't feel that somebody will come in and shoot you, or somebody will come in and kidnap you, or kidnap your family. Although I do have family members who they are in Afghanistan still, I'm worrying about them a lot. But personally here, my kids, myself, my wife, my brother's family, our kids going to school, and now my son, who's 15, and he's dreaming to be an engineer, and I will do whatever I can to be an engineer. So I studied law in Afghanistan, but unfortunately I couldn't complete the entire my class and my career. But I definitely want my son to achieve his goal, and that's called American Dream, and we're achieving it.
What are your goals for No One Left Behind in the next few years?
Yeah, so in the coming years, our goal is to evacuate at least 1,000 Afghans a year from Afghanistan. We certainly hope to do more than that number. So that's the first goal. The second goal is to help those who are already here in the U.S., and that means helping several thousand that are in the U.S. every year. So we're looking at about 2,000 to 5,000. And then on Capitol Hill, our goal is to work with members of Congress, both Republicans and Democrats. We're a nonpartisan organization, and pass legislation to make the SIV program, the Special Immigrant Visa Program, permanent. And that is the ultimate goal. Once that happens, the State Department will have the resources to support organizations like ours and to support the pathway of those thousands of Afghans that are left behind to come here. So between evacuation, resettlement, and the actual advocacy that we do on the Hill, that's the change we're planning to make in the coming 3 years. I think for many Americans, Afghanistan is in the rearview mirror. You have Ukraine, you have other issues, domestic issues, but this is actually a national security issue. And the reason it's a national security issue is because future allies, the people who are going to be helping us in conflicts, are going to need to trust the credibility of our nation. And this is part of holding up that credibility as Americans, that our promise means something. So what I would say to all of those who are watching is that this national security issue cannot be thought of as something in the past. It is something about the future. And that's why keeping our promise to Afghans and keeping our promise to all SIVs is vital for the United States of America.